Okay, so it seems like there's been a little bit of an update in the whole Deme situation. Now, this has been a pretty interesting one to follow, as it seems like recently she's been going after a particular VTuber, being Olivia Monroe, over some viewbotting claims, and also just going after people who viewbot in general, especially in the VTubing space, right? And I do think it is a very interesting conversation, because there is very clearly an issue with viewbotting, not just in the VTubing space, but in the streaming space as well, right? It's something that happens all the time. And of course, it sucks for a lot of people wanting to get advertisers and, sponsors to sponsor them, when instead they're sponsoring people who obviously have paid for a bunch of, viewers to be there and artificially increase their viewer count, so the sponsors will go to them, which obviously, is bad, right? It's not good for the creators that want to get sponsored, right? But of course, Deme recently put out this one post, which we looked at in the last video, saying, why is no one talking about the blatant viewbotting in the VTubing sphere? And obviously then she goes on to say the most blatant one is Olivia Monroe, and talks about how she talked to Mythic Talent and they said it's not their problem. And again, this has been a pretty controversial tweet, and it seems like she's been getting a lot of backlash from this, because again, it seems like a lot of what has come up has been not followed up with a lot of evidence and proof and things like that, which I do think is one of the things that you really need whenever it comes to calling out, especially someone in particular for viewbotting, right? Because again, that is, we've seen it so many times, not just with VTubers, right? But with streamers in general. Whenever someone accuses someone of viewbotting, usually the ones that kind of just say they're viewbotting and don't really do anything else, usually just get left out the door, right? People don't care, and people just essentially, don't care, but it seems like, the people that kind of bring in a lot of evidence and present it in a good way tend to get a little bit further in terms of proving their point about the kind of viewbotting claims. And I think that is something that maybe Deme should have done if she was planning on calling this out. Maybe it was just a kind of last minute thing that she just, put out there, right? But of course, I do think it should have been kind of, I guess, presented in a different way, right? And obviously, she then goes on to follow up with another tweet saying, I now understand when no one wants to talk about it. And I'm sure that's in response to a lot of the backlash and stuff that she's gotten from it. And yeah, I do understand that a lot of people will be going after her for, the fact that it's their favorite VTuber, right? And they don't want their favorite VTuber to be, labeled as bad. But I do also understand as well at the same time that, from this point, she hasn't really kind of, I guess, shown any proof on Twitter, at least, to do with this. So a lot of people will be like, well, where's the proof, right? We want to see the proof. And I was saying that quite a lot in my last video, right? We just want to see the proof of this happening so that we can either get behind you or not get behind you, depending on what that proof shows us. But a lot of the time, whenever it comes to these claims and there is no proof, then, people tend to not be very happy about that, because obviously it seems like, it's going to affect this person without any proof, right? But of course, there's some replies as well saying, well, yeah, you also kind of came out, you also have to come out with ironclad proof before calling someone out, and even more so, prove it was them doing it. Anything else is just a wild accusation, which, yeah, I do think is true, right? And obviously, she says you can check her analytics or use the viewer metrics back in July. It used to be 85 to 90% viewer bot ratio, but I guess since if you're up the viewbots from 1K to 5K, some people think the streams numbers are real. It's not accusations. It's unfortunate that she's botted, which obviously, yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of the stats that she's taking is that, it's botted by someone else, which again can be a thing. Obviously they say, I think I must have misunderstood then, and if I did, then it's my mistake, because it sounds like you were saying that she viewbots, not that she's getting viewbotted like unknowingly. If that's how you meant it, then yeah, Twitch addressed it for like a week, and then the bots came back, and it's probably even worse now. And then she says, whether or not it's her personally isn't my concern, it's just her profiting from it. I just think it's wrong personally. I would have loved to not single out Olivia. She's just the only VTuber I know about. Everyone else is CS streamers. and said, yeah, at the end of the day, I can see where you're coming from, especially after talking to you more. Now, again, yeah, obviously, it seems like she has a problem more so with the fact that she is taking sponsors and things while being botted, whether that was due to her being botted or not being botted, which obviously is the claim that Deme is making. Now, of course, again, you know, she says her kind of proof for this is the 85 to 90% viewer bot ratio, but obviously, we've already seen this now. This is uploaded 1 hour ago, whereas this original tweet was uploaded, what, yesterday? Or no, 2 days ago, actually. So, of course, people are going to be mad if you take 2 days to upload any kind of like, hey, look at this, look at that. Obviously, we did go through some metrics in my video to kind of explain it. But obviously, this probably should have been shown right at the very start. Being like, hey, you know, this is a screenshot of the percentages. Just kind of look at that, right? And that is what I'm going off, which I think is fair enough, right? I feel like that is, you know, something that some people could follow by. And of course, yeah, you can see that it says 77% authenticated bots, 23% authenticated users. So it says here that essentially, yeah, with the 77% bots or something, I don't know. But again, it is pretty crazy, right? And we did look at the stream charts though. For example, like this stream, where essentially, yeah, she had about 6,000 average viewers, but her average Twitch users were only about 4,900. So again, she's missing out a lot of actual Twitch viewers in her chat, which left her at a ratio of 71%. And some of these streams were even worse. For example, like this Duck-Off one, which was 46% users to viewer ratio, which is pretty bad. But also there's some contradictory ones, for example, like this one, which is 117% users to viewer ratio. So essentially there's more users than there is viewers on this stream. So again, I do think it is pretty interesting to look at each one of these streams because this one has 145. There's more users than viewers in the stream. So again, I do think it is an interesting kind of topic to talk about because the ratio seems to change every single time and it tends to change quite a bit, right? And of course, I have zero clue as to why that could be. I don't know if you can bot Twitch users. I'm unsure. But obviously, these are the claims that Deme is making, essentially saying that, you know, there's percentages on these kind of analytic charts that are showing that there is some kind of botting going on. And sure, that could 100% be the case. But again, I think it's more so how this was all packaged up is why this has had so much backlash. Because again, whenever you're calling someone out for viewbotting or being viewbotted and taking sponsors while being viewbotted, you're going to have to like kind of consolidate it a little bit, have some evidence behind it, explain your reasoning as to why this is bad, and then just kind of put it out in a tweet or whatever. I feel like that would have been better rather than these little like bits here and there, because currently, you know, you have to be on Twitter. You currently have to be actively looking through replies and whatever to, you know, see the full point that Deme is making, which I do think obviously doesn't help her at all. It doesn't help her point because, of course, it seems like she does have some kind of, you know, proof or some kind of reasoning as to why she thinks this way. It's just that it's not explained clearly, and it seems like, yeah, you know, there's bits coming from like replies down here, and obviously there's like a new post today, and then obviously people posting clips from a stream where she talks about it. She said, "I'm glad that you realize that there's no real solution to this problem, and accusing others of partaking only upsets people. Now, when are you going to apologize to Olivia for claiming that she's responsible for the viewbots?" Which obviously this is the clip that they show.
Usually when you're getting viewbotted, it's an attack. It's sporadic. It's not consistent. Okay? This kind of viewbotting is so consistent to every single one of her streams ever since fucking 2024. Can you imagine viewbotting that consistently since 2024? That's not somebody doing it. That is literally somebody, like, you have to be the one doing it then. If I'm being honest. 2 fucking years of viewbotting.
So yeah, obviously she says in that clip, you know, it's 100% her, like she's viewbotting, she has to be doing it because it's so consistent, right? And then she responds by saying, "Oh, I'm actually sorry. I meant to say it could be a viewer who thinks it's helping her or her doing it," which I said later on as well. "The way I speak is that I form opinions while speaking, and it's a terrible habit." So again, you know, obviously a lot of people say down here as well, well, you got to admit that you didn't really articulate yourself that good. And then she says, "I never really do. My bad on that." And I do think that really has been the kind of negative side to this entire situation, right? The way that she articulates herself, the way that she kind of presents things has definitely, you know, kind of affected people's view on her kind of take, right? I do think that if she was to present it better and was to obviously do, you know, do a little bit more to kind of make it more consolidated, I think that people would have been much more behind her. But of course, as I said, things are everywhere. She's misspeaking on stream, you know, she has to say sorry about things and saying she has a terrible habit while forming opinions while speaking, and, you know, saying that she can't really articulate herself well. And again, it all becomes this big like mishmash of like different kind of problems and different kind of things everywhere, to the point where people can't really follow it, and then they're just like, you know what, I don't care, I'm just gonna hate on her, right? And that's exactly what's gonna happen. And I think that obviously that is why it is so important to kind of consolidate things, as I said, and get like the right evidence out there, and the right kind of statement and your right line of thinking in one kind of post, because yeah, people can understand it better and can actually go through it rather than trying to dig up like different parts of Twitter and whatever to find whatever they can, right? And obviously people said, why? Because you showed proof, and people were mad at you. And obviously Deme says, I only showed proof in my stream going through analytics, etc. Which of course, again, it seems like, you know, she did go on stream and go through the analytics. But the thing is, right, as I said, everything's dotted everywhere. You have to go to Twitch, you have to go to Twitter, you have to go to here, you have to go to there, you have to go to this reply, you have to go to that person. It's like, oh my god, how many places do we have to go? I don't know if she's making a video on it. Maybe that would be the best place to do it. But again, I do think, you know, the kind of sporadicness of every kind of bit of information out there at the moment is confusing a lot of people, right? They said, I only wanted to point out that the viewers were 85 to 90% viewbots. Whether or not that's on her, I highly doubt. You know, the problem is profiting from being viewbotted. If she wants to address it or not, it's entirely up to her. I genuinely don't think she's a bad person for it too, honestly. I can't blame someone for just using an unlucky situation to their best. I said, none of my viewers / community members are sending hate towards her. Also, I don't condemn it. And if found out they were no longer part of my community, the only reason I dropped the name was because I was called out for vague posting. Okay, so there it is. A prime example of being consistently viewbotted for 1 to 2 years, which again, I do think is fair enough, but you got to understand, you know, the backlash that is going to come out with naming a VTuber by name, you know, saying that they are viewbotting. Sometimes, you know, even though someone says, hey, oh, you're vague posting, give us an example, you got to kind of think of the, you know, repercussions that are going to happen if you do mention a name. And even if they, you know, they could be 100% viewbotting as well, right? But obviously, you know, naming a name comes with, you know, the fans being annoyed, her fans being annoyed, and obviously some other people being annoyed as well. So you just got to kind of think about that, I guess, before you post as well. And obviously, yeah, I do think it is a very interesting situation, though. We'll have to wait and see if Olivia Monroe will actually respond to it, because, again, obviously it is a pretty crazy thing. But yeah, it seems like Deme has been kind of explaining a little bit more about her situation. And again, at the moment, I'm not fully you know, convinced. I think there does need to be a bit more evidence besides from the like kind of analytic stuff that is going on, because I've taken a look at a chat looks pretty normal when streaming. Obviously I know you can now bot chatters, but again, I do kind of want to kind of look into this a little bit more, and you know, maybe see if there's any other evidence that this is happening, or even a kind of I guess confession from Olivia that is happening, I guess. But again, for now, we won't really fully know until something like that comes out. And I think that is the problem as to why, you know, so much backlash is going towards Deme at the moment. And yeah, I mean, that is essentially all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kazza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.